Hi, Michael here. Take a look at this stone, this massive boulder. You're probably thinking, what could a rock this size possibly teach us about money? Surprisingly, everything. This stone is taller than a person, heavier than your car, and for centuries, it was the foundation of a functioning currency. Ordinary people use giants like this to trade and build wealth. And before you imagine them hauling it around, the system was far more ingenious than that. It might sound unbelievable, but this is the story of how the simplest of objects holds the deepest truths about what makes money actually work. Yeah, I know, it's a little crazy, but stick with me, you'll see. For now, let's rewind. Why did we invent money in the first place? Imagine trying to buy a house and paying with a herd of cows. It's not exactly practical. This is precisely why humanity created a simple middleman for value, a tool that everyone in a society agrees to trust and accept. That tool is money. But the choice of that tool is critical. Today, our middleman is often this flimsy piece of paper. It works, but history is littered with examples of paper money being corrupted, printed into oblivion, and ultimately losing the one thing it needs to survive: public trust. So if the core of money is that shared belief, could that belief ever be placed in a stone? For the people of Yap Island, the answer wasn't just yes. It was the foundation of their entire economy. And to understand why, we need to travel back in time. Picture yourself not on a vacation, but on the shores of Yap Island. Hundreds of years ago, the sun blazes overhead. Waves rhythmically crash against the beach, and the entire village has gathered, their attention fixed on the horizon. A lone canoe is slowly approaching, and it's carrying a colossal circular stone, a rye stone. Believe it or not, this isn't just a rock. It's about to become money. Someone is about to officially claim it and use it to make a purchase. Now, here's the crucial part. These stones weren't native to Yap. They were quarried from limestone caves on islands hundreds of miles away. Brave crews would embark on perilous journeys in wooden canoes to carve out these massive discs and haul them across the open ocean. They battled storms, treacherous waves, and the sheer physical danger of the task. Sometimes, lives were lost in the process. So when a rye stone finally arrived on Yap's shores, it was more than just a rock. It represented human effort, a symbol of hard work, risk, and sacrifice. Its value wasn't random. It was earned. This gives us our first important lesson about money. Value isn't built in. It's not about the material itself, but about how rare it is and the effort needed to make and protect it. This idea applies everywhere. It explains why gold, which is hard to mine, is valuable. It's also why Bitcoin needs a lot of computing power to be mined. And it was the same for these giant stones. Now, let's compare this to our modern money called fiat money. Technically, a government can print as much of it as it wants, with no real limit. But here's the key point that keeps it working. It relies on collective belief. The whole system depends on the government's ability to make people believe that this money is scarce and that it's important to own and use it. In a way, poverty itself helps support this illusion, acting as proof that money isn't easily accessible to everyone. And of course, the system is set up to make you chase after it. Your job, your bills, and your goals are all connected to getting this money. But let's be clear, fiat money isn't actually scarce. It can be created with the press of a button, as we saw in the last video. This leads us to the ultimate truth, one that ties the giant stones of Yap to the digital numbers in your bank account. Money, in any form, is really just a social agreement. It has value because we all choose to believe it does. The rye stones, in the end, were just limestone. You couldn't eat them, build a house with them, or use them as tools. Their immense value came solely from a shared story, a collective belief that the entire community upheld. The most powerful proof of this, one of the largest rye stones ever quarried, sank to the bottom of the ocean during a storm. No one ever saw it again. Yet everyone on Yap agreed it still existed and held its value. Ownership of that invisible, sunken stone continued to be traded for generations, as if it were physically present on the island. That shared belief, that unwavering trust, is the bedrock of every monetary system. From a giant stone to a gold coin, a dollar bill, or the numbers on your screen. This reveals a profound truth. Money is, and always has been, an idea, a collective fiction that only exists because we all agree to participate in it. This is why it doesn't need a physical form at all. It's no surprise that over 90% of the world's money is already digital, mere entries on a spreadsheet. In this system, what truly matters is not the physical token, but the record of ownership. The rye stones were the perfect example of this. Take the one lost at sea, for instance. It still held value because its story and owner were part of the community's shared memory. And then, when disputes arose, islanders had a built-in mechanism for resolving them. The community would gather, and elders and witnesses would recount the stone's entire history, its journey, its owners, its trades. The version of events that was most consistent and widely accepted became the official truth. In other words, the ledger wasn't carved in stone. It was carved into collective memory and secured by consensus. Modern banking operates in a similar way. Your bank just updates the numbers in its records. Bitcoin takes this idea even further, with every transaction being publicly logged for everyone to see. This transparency creates a system where anyone can independently verify the entire history of ownership. The record itself becomes the source of trust, not the promise of a powerful institution. And when the record is this clear and unchangeable, a central authority isn't that important anymore. You no longer require a bank or a government to certify who owns what. Frankly, this can be a very good thing. History has shown us the dangers of concentrating too much power over money in one place. We've seen governments devalue currency by printing it endlessly, and we've watched banks take reckless risks with people's savings. And when things fall apart, guess who picks up the tab? Spoiler, it's never the bankers. That's why decentralization is so important. On Yap Island, there was no central bank or government mint controlling the money supply. The system was upheld by the community itself, which collectively decided through consensus who owned which stone. I guess that's why Bitcoin is so popular today. Instead of one central authority managing the records, it takes the same concept and applies it. Thousands of computers around the world store copies of the ledger and constantly verify each other, much like villagers on the beach. This decentralization isn't just a technical aspect, it's a shift in power. It proves that a financial system can function and even prosper without a central authority controlling everything. Just like the rye stones, it's consensus, not control, that makes it work. But then, knock knock, the outside world arrived with guns, massive ships, and their own shiny money. Instead of disregarding the stones, colonizers even marked them with black crosses to seize them, turning the islanders' own currency into a tool of control. At first, the old consensus remained intact, and everyone still respected the stones. Even the outsiders had to go along with it. But slowly, new money began to trickle in. Because it was more practical for paying taxes, trading with foreigners, and fueling a modern economy. The lesson here is that there are three key pillars that make something function as currency. If even one of them falls, the whole system can collapse. Rye stones nailed the scarcity pillar. They were rare. And even when colonizers tried to carve new ones with fancy tools, the islanders just laughed. Because the value wasn't in the rock itself. It was in the effort and stories of the people behind it. But money also needs to be widely accepted and easy to use. That's where things broke down. It worked perfectly on a small island where everyone knew each other. But once trade with the outside world began, it wasn't exactly user-friendly. Imagine a Yap Islander trying to buy, say, a hamburger in America and telling the cashier, "Don't worry, I got a giant stone back home. Well, actually, it's under the ocean. But trust me, it's mine." Not the smoothest transaction, right? So, the rye stones gradually shifted from everyday currency to cultural treasures, used for weddings, dowries, and rituals, while cash took over daily transactions. But their story gives us a clear lesson. Money is powerful, but only as long as it's built on all three pillars. Lose one, and even the strongest currency can fall apart. The rye stones stand today not just as cultural icons, but as a reminder of what money really is. And hey, if a giant rock can teach you about economics, then surely you can smash that like button and subscribe. Think of it as carving your own little rye stone on this channel.